So welcome to Tiny Bites. Today we're learning how to make a simple rec card. You've probably encountered rec cards, maybe like a spa menu or a wine list. They're kind of like postcards in that they're printed on harder cardstock paper, but instead of being that sort of squarish 4x6 postcard size, they're about the size of a trifold brochure that you haven't opened up yet. So we're going to go ahead and learn how to make one for a pretend food drive using Google Docs. And I'm assuming several things. One, that you have a working device and internet connection, and two, that you have the lesson pieces or will be using this as a practice exercise to make a rack card for your own church work. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll head over to Google Docs. Once you're there, right, docs.google.com, you can choose a blank out of starting a new document template gallery. So we'll click on the plus. That'll go ahead and get us started. The very first thing you're going to do is come up here to File and click on that and slide down to Page Setup. It's almost at the very bottom, and you're going to go ahead and click it. It'll open up a menu for Page Setup, and this is what I would like for you to put. Right now it's in Portrait. You want it in Landscape, so your 8.5 by 11 paper goes sideways. In the margins, we want them very skinny, 1/4 inch. So please type 0.25, and you can type it in or you can copy and paste like I'm doing it. But make sure that you have very skinny margins, a 0.25, and then you say OK. So I'm going to zoom out so we can see more of our page, maybe like 75%. See how it's now sideways? So now we move on to step 3. We're going to take advantage of tables to hold our material in columns. So the next step is to come up to Insert, click on that, slide down to Table, let's see, right here, and you're going to slide over, and you're going to make one row with 3 columns because our rec card is a 3-up that we're designing. So there you go. You see how it's made the table, and we have 3 columns. If it's not already there, go ahead and hover your mouse in the first column and click it to put the blinking cursor on it. Mine already happens to be there. Now it's time to put in our first picture. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can come up to Insert and slide down to Image and come over here to Upload from Computer. If you already have it open, the other way you could do it, over here, if I click on my square, you see my folder where I have my pieces for my rack card design. I could choose this donation box, click, so it's selected, and drag it over here so that it's going to go into my first one, and there it is. So that's 2 ways to do that. You can either come up here, Insert, Image, and Upload, or you can click and drag from your folder that you happen to have open on your desktop. So right now my cursor is outside of my table. If I go ahead and click on the image, it's going to select the image and show the sizing toggle tools all around the picture so I can scale it. I'm not ready to do that. I'm just going to click on my picture and hit my sideways arrow to go beside it. And I'm going to hit Return or Enter a few times to give me some blank lines. Let me see how that happened. Now my cursor is inside. Now if I didn't have material already prepared, I could just start typing here, la 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 la, and start telling about the food bank or the food drive. But I happen to have my text already typed out separately. So let's go over to that page. We'll look at it. Here you see I have, for my first part of my rack card, the year-round food drive. You can help fight hunger. Please help us by donating non-perishable food items, and so on. And I put a line. And then on the back of my card, I'm going to tell the person, here's what we need most. We need canned fruit. We need canned vegetables. Since I already did that work, I'm going to go ahead and click and drag to select everything, right? And I can come over to Edit and slide down to Copy, or I could use Command-C to copy it from the keyboard shortcut. Now I'm going to come back to my rack card design, and I have my cursor where I want it, and I can come up to Edit and say Paste, or I could just use Command-V, and there it is. So that saves me a little bit of typing if I can just go ahead and bring it on over. It'll look something like this when you're at this step of the process. Now I know that I want to have the logo at the bottom of my rack card, so I'm going to hit return a few times. It's okay if it goes onto the second page. We haven't done any sizing work yet. We're just bringing in the pieces that we need. So you could go ahead and go to Insert, My Image, and upload from the computer. Or like before, make sure your cursor is where you want it to land. And I come over here to my open folder on my desktop and I see the logo, and I'm going to click on it to select it and drag it over here to where I want it to land. And it's really big, so I'm going to click it, and it didn't land where I wanted to. So see how the blue toggle things came out? Don't slide from the middle. You'll end up making a disproportionate, kind of squished logo. To keep the proportion circular, I like grabbing from the corners, so I just squish it in. You may have to do it a few times to get it down to a size that you think is okay for your project. So now that you've got it, you can click it and copy it and make it go away. Hit delete. Now put your cursor where you really want it and hit Control Paste. Now it's more of where I wanted it. So there we go. Even though it's not fitting all correctly yet, at least we have all the pieces. We have our donation box, we have our approximate text, and we have an approximate logo. Now you go ahead and start kind of fiddling with your images and your text to make them be the way you want to. If you click on this donation box, you'll see those sizing toggles come up. So again, don't squish it in from the middle. It'll get all weird and distorted, right? So let's go back to original. And this time slide it in from the corner. And as this big picture shrunk a little bit, you see how the logo came up to be in the bottom of the rack card, which is more of what we wanted. So I invite you to go ahead and play with those image sizing tools, both at the top and at the bottom. You just click it and drag from the diagonal. Another thing that you can do, once you have your picture ready, click on it and come up here to alignment and center it. So we've centered our box. I'm going to click on our logo now, and I'll come up here to the menu, center align, and now it's centered. So that's looking better. So now we can think about how we want to fix up our text. For your text, you can click and drag. This one, the year-round food drive, I want this to be a headline. So I've clicked and dragged. See how it turned blue? I'm going to keep everything Arial, but if I wanted to change the font, it's up here in the center, and you can just choose your font from the list. But I like Arial. It's easy to read. It's not a headline size font though, so we can either go minus or go plus. You can click in the center and select a size, or you can just type it in. I'm going to go ahead and type it in, and I'm going to pick 25. That sounds good to me. And I'm going to go ahead and make it orange over here in the text color. Orange to sort of match the stuff that's inside my donation box. I'm also going to click B for bold. Once I've done that, you can slide past this to the alignment tools, click on the little arrow to drop down all the choices, and click center. So that's one way to do that. I'm going to invite you to go ahead and play with the text and change it to whatever size and whatever color you would like to use. So I went ahead and played with my text and my images, and this is what mine looks like at this point in time. For my headline here, this part, I used 24 point in Arial, and I made it orange, and I made it bold. For all the rest of the main body here, I went ahead and made it 14 point in size. But for my call out text, the first one, you can help fight hunger, I changed the color to blue. And for my drop off location, I changed the color to orange, so those get a little more attention. And then for the address, I went ahead and made that just 12 point, and I made my logo small to fit in under it. Everything is centered, and I did it, I mean, you could do it one section at a time, or you could do it the way I did it, which is select everything, right? All the pictures, all the text, come over to alignment and hit centered. So everything is centered. Now that it's selected, we're making a 3-up rec card. So I'm going to hit Command C, or you can come up to Edit and say Copy. Now I'm going to put my cursor in the center, and you could do Edit and Paste, or Command V. And that's pasted there. And I'm doing the same thing, putting my cursor in the last column, Command V to paste it there. Sometimes when you paste, things get a little off. You see how the logo is not centered? That's an easy fix. Just go ahead and click it, and you can say center alignment, and it'll put it back. Same thing for this one. And there we go. We have a 3-up rack card, and yours will look something like this. So while you're making the rack card, it's useful to see these black lines from the table to help guide you for placing things in different places. But when you're getting ready to print your master copy to take to the church to make more Xerox and put it on cardstock paper, you might want to change the table lines to white or a light gray. So you can click anywhere inside the table. Right now my cursor is in the middle table. We're going to come up to Format, up here close to the middle. We're going to slide down to Table, and then we're going to slide over and come down to Table Properties. It's going to bring up the table properties over here on the side. See how my mouse is moving along my choices? I want to come down to Color. When you click on Color, it will ask you what color here did you want this table. You can make it go to white, and you'll just figure out where to cut it based on measurements on the paper cutter. That's fine. That's one way to do it. If you do find the guidelines helpful, you just don't want it to be a dark black, you could come back to Color and pick a very faint gray. So you can kind of see them there when you go to church and do the paper cutter, but they go away once you've cut the actual paper, and then you can have some help with your trimming. When you no longer want to see the table properties, you can click on the X in the corner and close out that side menu. So there you go. If all you wanted to do is make a rack card with only one side, you can stop here. Remember to come up here into the title and name your document. I'm going to call mine a 3-up food drive rack card because it's 3 up. Once I chop it up, it's 3 of them. If you had more material for your rack card and you wanted to have stuff printed on the back, you could repeat all of these steps again. You could come down to the second page, put your cursor in there, come up to Insert, Table, put in another 3, come over to your folder and bring in the people at the food bank, right? And then you could either start typing, or you could come up here to your side text where you had your material for your most needed items. Click and drag to select everything, Command Copy, or come to Edit and Copy to copy it onto your clipboard. And switch back to your project part, and then maybe hit Enter a few times to put the cursor where you would like it, and hit Paste. At this point, you would go ahead and tweak whatever needs tweaking, make the colors the way you wanted to. So I went ahead and did some tweaks to my text and my headline to make it orange, and I went ahead and copied my material into all 3 columns of my back page. For the back page, sometimes it doesn't align perfectly if you're going to have a double-sided rack card, so it's okay to have the guides turn on. See the faint gray lines? Turned on the side that has the most material, right? So I think my front page is the one that's longer, so I'm just going to make the table in the back side. Click anywhere inside the table, come up to Format, go to Table, then to Table Properties. It'll bring it up on the side. You open Color if it isn't already open automatically from before. Open Color and make the table border be white. That way it doesn't show, because you do not need paper cutter guidelines on both sides of your rack card. You just want it on the longer side. If you can't tell which side that is on your screen, you could print them both out. Hold them up together to the light, and then you'll see which side is shorter. Make the table lines on that shorter side white so they disappear. Then you can have your gray table lines on the other side. Hope that makes sense to you, and I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a simple 3-up rec card. So for those of you who want practice, I invite you to take the puzzle pieces and use the tutorial video and go ahead and try to make something similar to this. You can feel free to change the colors if you don't like orange and blue for the call out text. Experiment with your fonts, but remember, you're trying to get the message across so that the people know where to bring their food. If you're feeling more adventurous, go ahead and use this technique to make a church rec card for your actual church work.